Imagine this, a bustling racetrack, the sun gleaming off freshly groomed horses and spectators placing their bets. Amid the excitement, Pedro stood nervously near his prized racehorse, Pancho. It was supposed to be a big day, Pancho's debut in a competitive event. The horse was calm, its demeanor as steady as ever, exuding an air of confidence. But that all changed in an instant. As Pedro chatted with potential bettors, his attention was briefly diverted. A young woman stepped into the paddock area. She seemed unremarkable at first glance, but the moment Pancho laid eyes on her, the horse's behavior shifted drastically. Pancho, usually composed and unfazed by crowds, began to rear and snort. His hooves scraped against the ground, and his eyes fixated on the girl. The peaceful calm of the racetrack shattered as Pancho bolted, charging toward the paddock fence. "Pancho!" Pedro yelled, but it was no use. The horse leaped over the fence with an agility Pedro didn't think possible. The crowd gasped as Pancho galloped straight toward the girl, who stood motionless, her eyes locked on the approaching animal. Pedro's heart sank. He feared the worst. Would Pancho harm her? Was the girl in danger? But to everyone's shock, Pancho didn't attack. Instead, the massive horse slowed down and stopped right in front of her. For a moment, it was as if the world had paused. The girl, calm and composed, reached out and gently touched Pancho's face. Then, in a move no one expected, she climbed onto the horse's back. Without a saddle or bridle, Pancho carried her with a grace and ease that left the crowd speechless. Before Pedro or anyone else could react, the girl and Pancho galloped away, disappearing into the distance. Pedro was frozen in disbelief. His prize horse, his pride and joy, was gone. The racetrack erupted in chaos, and angry bettors swarmed Pedro, demanding answers. But Pedro wasn't concerned about the money or his reputation. His only thought was, "Where is Pancho?" Pedro called the police, describing the girl in as much detail as he could remember. Within minutes, reports of sightings began pouring in. Pancho and the girl were seen galloping through the streets, weaving between cars, and heading toward the outskirts of the town. The police tracked their movements, but as the pair left the city, the trail went cold. Pedro was left with more questions than answers. Who was this girl? Why had Pancho reacted so strongly to her? And where were they going? Just as Pedro began to lose hope, a stranger approached him at the racetrack. The man handed Pedro a note, hurriedly scrawled with a message. "Meet me behind the stables in 5 minutes. Don't bring the police." Pedro followed the note's instructions and met the man, who revealed a critical piece of information. The girl was someone he had given a ride to earlier that day. She had spoken little during their journey, but seemed intent on reaching the racetrack. The man provided Pedro with the exact location where he had picked her up, a rural area outside the city. Armed with this new lead, Pedro and the police headed to the address, which turned out to be a beautiful horse farm. As they arrived, Pedro spotted Pancho grazing peacefully in the pasture. Relief washed over him, but his curiosity grew when he saw the girl standing nearby, watching him. She seemed calm, yet there was no sign of an attempt to escape. The farm owners, an older couple, explained everything. This wasn't just any horse farm, it was a rescue center for animals in need. Years ago, Pancho had been born on this very farm. The girl, Anita, was the daughter of the couple and had formed a deep bond with Pancho when he was just a foal. Pancho had been sold as a racehorse when Anita was still a child. But the moment she saw him at the racetrack, she recognized him instantly. Pancho, too, had remembered her. Their connection was undeniable, forged in the early years of his life. Anita admitted she had acted impulsively by taking Pancho, but insisted she only wanted to bring him back to the farm, the place where he truly belonged. Pedro was torn. On one hand, Pancho was his prized horse, an investment he had worked tirelessly to secure. On the other hand, he couldn't deny the bond between Anita and Pancho. Her love for the horse was genuine, and Pancho's reaction proved that he felt the same. In the end, Pedro chose compassion over anger. He decided not to press charges or demand compensation. Instead, he allowed Anita to keep visiting Pancho, as long as the horse remained in Pedro's care. The story of Pancho and Anita became a local legend, inspiring everyone who heard it. It wasn't just a tale of a runaway horse. It was a reminder of the deep, unbreakable bonds that can form between humans and animals. Pedro often reflected on that day, standing by Pancho's stall and watching him with a mix of pride and gratitude. He had regained his horse, but more importantly, he had gained a new perspective on love, trust, and the extraordinary connections that shape our lives. Sometimes, the most unexpected moments reveal the deepest truths. Love, loyalty, and compassion aren't limited to humans. They transcend species and remind us of the beauty in every connection.